Okay, tonight we're going to be talking about MailChimp and Gravity Forms. This is a workshop, which means it's going to be a little more casual and free form. We're going to actually have a lot of question time at the end if you guys want to talk about your particular projects. We're going to be managing lists and groups and segments. Let me turn on my video. There we go. Okay. I'm Jim True. I'm the support lead and community manager for the PODS framework. That is our website for the PODS framework, and that is my website. We'll go over the slide again at the end, so don't worry about it now. Okay, why are the reasons you have a mailing list? Common ones are, specifically, you want to keep track of the subscribers on your website. You want to be able to send them information and let them know what's going on in your world of whatever it is that you're actually doing in your website. Maybe you have a CRM and you want to track people that respond to your website and treat them as leads, and then keep track of the ones that might be current clients. Maybe you want to keep track of the ones that you've lost or something like that. Maybe you've got an e-commerce website and you want to keep track of who has purchased things, who have abandoned shopping carts, who have looked at something and maybe added it to a wish list. There's a lot of reasons to actually keep track of these kind of things on a mailing list, because you might want to go back and try to grab these people back. And you might want to do drip marketing. So you might be having a seminar coming up in a year, or maybe you're writing a book, or some kind of product is coming out and you're wanting to engage these people and start kind of putting them into a little flow to try to not trick them into getting to be interested in buying your product, but slowly put them into some kind of a marketing campaign so that they know that there's some information coming down the road. These are the primary reasons you'd have a mailing list. So in MailChimp, you have an option between lists, groups, and segments, and that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about tonight is the subscriber list. In MailChimp bills by subscribers in your mailing list. So that means that for every one person, one email, that's one subscriber. If you have 10 emails or 10 subscribers to your mailing list, that means you're going to be paying for, you're tracking 10 subscribers. If you have 5 mailing lists and you have 10 email subscribers, that means you're going to have 50 emails. That means if those 5 people are actually on all of those, or those 10 people are on all 5 of those mailing lists, that means you're going to be paying for 50 subscribers. So the idea is, inside MailChimp, you want to only use one list and organize it. And that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about tonight. Groups help you organize mailing lists. So in our case, if we have one list, we're going to create 5 groups. You still only have one email equals one subscriber. If you create 10 groups, it's still 5 emails and 5 subscribers. If you have 60 groups and 2,000 emails, it's still 2,000 subscribers. However, if you had done 60 email lists, you would be paying for 120,000 subscribers. So that's why the whole concept behind MailChimp. Yeah, go ahead.
Singleton emails, or one-time email, or email blast, or if you send, when you say one email, if you send twice to that
There's
list.
2 different things. There's subscriber is who you pay for. So at WordPress, MailChimp starts charging you past 2,000 subscribers.
Right.
Blast campaigns are different. That's how many you send out. That's how many emails you send out. We're not talking about that. So,
When you say one email, I think of one email that I sent.
I'm thinking one subscriber. When I mean one email, I mean one person. This is like Elaine has come into my thing, and I'm going to throw her in 5 groups because she's like part of WordPress St. Petersburg.
Okay, so if you send 5 emails to that one subscriber, that's still one subscriber.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Your 5 emails are completely different though. If you send 5 campaigns out to your list of 2,000, that is 10,000 emails that you have generated out of the system. And there's another number that MailChimp bills for on that one. Not talking about that side of it, because I'm really not going to discuss, you've got to manage how many campaigns and information you send out. Sending it inside a list, though, helps you keep yourself from going over your counts of subscribers. Make sense?
Yeah, that does. I just wanted to make sure that I was understanding.
Yeah, and I probably am going to change that to one number instead of one email and make that a little clearer next time. So, but yeah, it's subscribers is who you're looking at. So. Any clear? Okay, cool. All right. Segments utilize groups in order to determine who you're going to be sending your campaigns out to. So in our case, if we created a group called client type, we could create 3 different types of clients called current clients, leads, and lost clients. And that would be 3 completely different groups. We could send out separate segmented campaigns to each one of those. If we had interest group, like business design development, that's a typical set of groups that we would use for like WordCamps typically, because we find people, or like for here, like if you guys were interested in design, that lets me know that, hey, we've got a front editor conference coming in, and send out a specific campaign just to the designers. Or we could do it by meetup, and we've got St. Pete, Tampa, Newport Richie. So that's kind of the whole idea. Yeah.
That first group was essentially separate, because nobody would be in more than one of those.
That is correct.
But the second and third groups, you might have the same person.
Yep, and that's the next thing we're talking about.
That's a logical tie, not a requirement.
That is correct, and that's the very next thing we're talking about. When you create groups inside MailChimp, you basically go in, you select your list, you go into Manage Contacts, and you select groups. And specifically, once you go to that screen, hey there.
Sorry, can you get my
Oh, no problem.
what's my computer?
And you're the
Charger too. That's all I need.
No problem. Did I get everything?
Yep, that's
okay,
it.
cool.
Thank you.
All right. No problem. Go for it. When you create groups, the very first question I'd ask you is this on your sign-up form? And you've got 4 options here. You do as checkboxes, which is like we were talking about. You can actually be multiple groups within a particular category. You can set it as radio, which means you can only select one. Like in that first one, clients, leads, and loss, that would be 1, and that would be like a radio button. You can also do it as a rep drop down if you want to, and that would be the select one. Or you can make it hidden, so it's only something that you select. And that's typically, I'm going to be doing a demo tonight of 2 different kinds, and one is specifically going to be hidden, where we basically set it from the contact form. The other question I'd ask is group categories and names. You basically are given a screen that looks like you can actually create a category. So you can say like client type and do loss leads and loss leads. Current. Yeah, thank you. Current leads and loss, that kind of thing. Where you can do St. Pete, Tampa, Newport Richie, the whole bit. And that's kind of this concept. And then you basically have the group after that point. You can have 60 groups across each list. So you actually have the ability to very heavily segment your mailing list. You can have as many categories as you want, though, to group those little group names in. So before you leave MailChimp after creating something like this, you want to also grab your MailChimp API. So we're going to be doing all of this. I'm just going over it now, but we're going to be going through this demo specifically so you can see how this works. But to get your MailChimp API, you go to Accounts, Extras, and then API Keys. And you will need that when we get into Gravity Forms, because you also need to, in this particular scenario, we're going to be using the Gravity Form add-on for MailChimp. And for setting up a form inside MailChimp to communicate with, creating a form within Gravity Forms to communicate with MailChimp, you're going to be adding your MailChimp API to the Gravity Forms, create a brand new form. Under Settings, MailChimp, create a new feed that actually looks at your particular list. You select the mailing list that has the groups you just created, and then you create a form that matches up, and then you make them synced. And that's what we're going to be demoing right now. So, had to get through all of that so we can get to this part, so it actually makes sense. So, we're going to be using, and I want to make sure that you guys can actually read my screen. We're going to be using our Tampa Bay WordPress mailing list. Can you guys read that okay, or do you want me to make it bigger? I can make it bigger. How's that? Okay. So when you come into MailChimp, we'll go all the way back. Hi. Good evening, Jim. You select Lists. You find the list you want to work with. Like in this case, you can see here, we have way too many lists. This was We created a list for the attendees, the sponsors, the speakers, and I think that was it, veterans, and a couple others. For every time we did a WordCamp, we created basically 3 lists. And one list came out of our ticket sales, the other 3 came out of our vendor communications and our sponsor communications and our speaker communications. Then we also had a mailing list for Tampa Bay WordPress, and then we also had a list for the meetups. And the whole idea is that with all of those, they all sit in their own little silo. So I'm in every single one of these, but there's nothing that connects me to any of them. Does that make sense? They're all separate. They all like completely, if I unsubscribe from one, it doesn't unsubscribe me from the other 12. It only unsubscribed me from that one. So you have basically created a mess for yourself trying to manage this kind of stuff. I could show you pods and I could show you Denise Jacobs one, and you would see the same thing. They're a mess. And that's what we're going to do, is basically talk about how to streamline and clean this up. So in this case, we're actually going to create a brand new list. And we're going to call it the new WordPress meetups. We can leave that, default that, I think. I don't think I have to keep all of those around. I'm just going to go and say save. See if it lets me do it. Of course it's going to make me do it. Garg, Tampa, WordCamp.org. Creating an empty list to let me get away. Oh, come on. You attended the meetup. I should have done this part first. Okay. Save. Okay, now we have a list. It has absolutely no context in it. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to create our groups. And you do that underneath Manage Contacts, Groups. And it gives you this really nice little message here about groups are actually going to be on your sign-up form, but you can also hide almost everything about groups on your sign-up form as well. For right now, we're just going to create them. And you also can use groups to do segmentation, and that's what this basically reminds you about. So we're going to create a group. We're going to call it with checkboxes, because we're going to call it which meetups are you interested in? And we're going to call St. Petersburg. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, cool. New board. I'm going to be using 6 of our groups right now. We still have 54 to go. Right. Yeah. Well, I was thinking along the lines of like, was I going to do the whole thing of like organizing how we would do this? But one thing you guys can also know about groups, when you're importing information into MailChimp, as long as you don't overwrite a field in that import, it will keep what was in there before. So like if I have a group in there for these, and I've populated it from maybe our meetup list. If I want to go then and start adding in like WordCamp attendance, in which WordCamps these folks actually attended. Hey there, for the WordPress meetup? Yep. Hey, I'm Jim. Mark. Welcome. You haven't missed much. You just missed the overview portion of this, but we are taping it and videotaping it and keeping the slides. So we've just gotten into MailChimp and are really going in and creating our first group. Awesome. Okay. No problem. So the idea is that for like, we would want to track which of our folks inside our MailChimp list had attended which WordCamps, because we've had 3 of them. So every time we would create a new WordCamp, we would just create a brand new group for that particular WordCamp and then track their attendance, based probably by their ticket type. So.
Jim, can you add later after you save this, go on out of it? Can you go back in and add
additional groups here? Yes. Inside this group category? Yeah, you can.
It's not perfect.
No, it doesn't lock it down. It just makes it just that you can add it back in. And you'll kind of see how that interface looks too. So we have Newport Richie, West of Chapel, Brandon Valrico, and Bradenton. Okay, so those are our 6 groups, and once you add them up, I did not mean to do that. Okay, you save it, and it's done. Your new groups have been added, and you can import to these groups, or you can say done for now. So basically, you can kind of see how the list kind of works. They're like little tiny little blocks that we can use for segmenting. We're done with the MailChimp side of this right now, because what we're going to do now is actually go over to our WordPress site and create a sign-up form to join that list based on those particular groups. Waiting for MailChimp to catch up. There we go. Okay. Alrighty. So the very first thing you want to do when you... let me make that a little bigger, guys. Sorry. You guys can read that? Okay. Alright, cool. When you add MailChimp in, your list of add-ons, if you've got the developer version or one of the ones above the main lit version, you have to like scroll down the screen and then find the Gravity form, the MailChimp one, and it's there. You can just click the install and then go from there. From what I gather, and I don't know how, I think they're going to be creating another tier of Gravity forms that's actually going to include MailChimp in the base version, so that you don't have to pay the additional level up to get it. But once you've actually added it, you go into settings, and that MailChimp API that I told you about, which, let me show you how to get that. You go into setting, you go to account, extras, API keys, and I already had one created, but all you have to do is click a button to say create a key, and it'll automatically do it. And then you grab that little number right there, and that's what you take over to this settings page, the general settings for Gravity forms, and you add that to the web API. I'm sorry, the MailChimp API. My bad. So settings, MailChimp, right there. Yes?
I'm surfing the add-ons for
It's not in the Word.
forms.
Yeah.
And there's about half a dozen on here.
Yeah, there's quite a few add-ons for Gravity forms.
When you get to the point about which Gravity form plugin you're going to integrate with.
Gravity Forms is the paid plugin. So you buy Gravity Forms as a license. Based on the version of the license you buy, it lets you have a specific number of add-ons. Some of them are only available in the base level. So, basically there's only so many that you can get at the base level. I think it's the main Gravity Forms, and hang on, I'll show you. It's faster to explain it. Zoom in. And their pricing.
Plugins from the repository are not sufficient.
There is not a single Gravity Forms add-on like this inside the WordPress.org repository. You have to pay for this. So basically their personal license gives you no add-ons at all. If you go into the $99 a year one, you can get basic add-ons included, and the basic add-ons are MailChimp right there. So for $99 a year, you can get access to this, but you can put it on as many sites as you want, as many. What I typically do is, and we've actually talked about this a couple of times, when you buy a Gravity Forms license, you build it into the project price for your client, because this is their marketing, this is their lead funnels, this is everything, and it's a necessary, it's one of those necessary things that they might need to have. We also have the ability to use Caldera forms, but you still have to pay for the MailChimp add-on for Caldera forms. Ninja Forms does not give away MailChimp. I'm trying to think. There's a couple other forms add-ons out there, but tonight we're talking Gravity Forms, but let's try to get back on track for that. Okay. So once you set up the MailChimp API, that allows you to basically use it in any form you create. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this form I created and then recreate it, because I figured it'd be helpful for you guys to actually see it. So we're going to create a brand new form called Join Our Mailing. One thing I really wish that MailChimp did would be to create a default form, kind of like a start it off. Because once you do it, there's nothing there. You have to like go select a field type here, start over there, you know, blah, blah, blah. They give you this whole little wizard here on the left, but it'd be nice to have. It's one thing I like about Caldera forms is they automatically give you a contact form right off the bat. So we know we need an email address, so we're going to grab an email. Come on. I know I clicked it. There it is. Just took its own sweet time. Okay, so we know we need an email. We also know we need a name. And now we're also going to select a checkbox for meetups. And what we do is you have to duplicate the choices that you created in the MailChimp groups. You have to duplicate those choices in this form. And I'll show you how they map up afterwards. So we're going to do like, which meetups are you interested in? And we have to do 2 more. So we have to actually go back over there real quick to make sure I have the names right. Lists. It's funny, I have a thing here, a how-to that actually says keep the screen up so that you can find it again. Because you're going to be referencing it. So we're going to go to groups, and there we are, view groups. So we have Tampa, St. Petersburg. You just have to make sure, you basically want to make sure that all of these settings are the same. But honestly, I found out that that's not totally required. And I'll show you that in just a minute. Tampa, Wesley Chapel, Newport Richie, Brandon, Rico, and Edward Field. Right. Okay, and that's required. So I'm going to save that form for right now. And we're going to go into, under settings for this form, there's a MailChimp. And what we're creating is a feed from this form to MailChimp. So we're going to add a brand new feed. And since we've added that API setting, it actually
Go back. Where did you find that?
Settings, MailChimp. You see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Settings,
Where'd you find
MailChimp.
the feed? Yeah.
The feed, you have to create a new feed. So this is basically, at the point when you first create a brand new form, it has no actual feed to anything yet, so you have to create a feed. Now, you can create multiple feeds for one form that are based on conditional situations. We're not going to go with that advanced on this one. We're going to just do a standard feed. So this is going to be feed our meetups. Okay. You select the list, and I think we called it WordPress meetups. And this is where the power comes out. As soon as the web catches up. It automatically pulls in the fields from your MailChimp list into the back end of Gravity Forms so that you can match up your fields. So like these, all of this is directly from MailChimp. Does that make sense to you guys? So that email address is coming directly from MailChimp, so we can call email and match it up. We can match up our first and last name, which it actually automatically did. Isn't that smart? Now, there's our list of meetups. So this is what I thought was really kind of cool. So you basically select it, and if you had this hidden, like if you didn't actually have the group selection on the front of the form, so like if you only had like a sign up for this meetup type form, like if you're on WordPress St. Petersburg and it says join this meetup, you only want it to go to St. Petersburg, so you don't have to have a front end piece of this form. So you could actually say, I want it to automatically join these groups and not give them any kind of indication of that at all. You know, if you want, basically if you're throwing people into like referrals and stuff like that, or leads, you would not give them the option of choosing if they wanted to be a referral. You are a lead. You'd make them a lead. So like if someone fills out your contact form on your website, you want to immediately add them as a lead. So you would actually feed them into your MailChimp list as a lead. Does that make sense? Okay. You wouldn't give them the option. But we're going to actually take our form and say if which meetups you're interested in is St. Petersburg, or sorry, assign it to Tampa, and then we do that same thing with Tampa, with St. Petersburg, and with Wesley Chapel. And we can do Port Richey. Does this make sense what I'm doing here, guys? Okay. Basically, you're telling your form to define what groups it connects with. So, I mean, you could, if you wanted to, just embed the MailChimp form on your website, but I like having an actual, more defined form from Gravity Forms from Caldera, so that's why I'm using this one instead. And that's Brandon, and we got Bradenton. Okay, so, and that is all of it. Your double opt-in option is basically, when you select double opt-in, that means they're going to get a confirmation email in addition to, we're automatically from MailChimp that will say, we've opted you, or we've added you to a MailChimp, do you want to join it? You don't have to do that. Typically, if you have a message on your MailChimp that is, you bought something from my company, or you've contacted me, you can do an automatic opt-in and not worry about letting them opt in separately. They can always unsubscribe. That's always an option when they're doing like a mailing list thing. But I tend to not do double opt-in because I have communicated, they've communicated with me, they've filled out a form, and I'm okay with putting them in my MailChimp because I'm not going to spam the living daylights out of them. Does that make sense?
Now, what you were doing just above there.
Yeah.
Can you go into maybe a little bit more detail about
Sure.
what it's actually?
What's actually happening there?
Yes.
Okay. If I had just checked the box and left that at always, this form wouldn't care what they filled out on the front end. Just like if I go into, actually I'll show you. It's easier to show this one.
Okay.
Update settings. I'm going to do a preview of the form and you can kind of see. Okay. All right. So this is our mailing list form. If we didn't, boy, that's like way over there. Let me drag that here. All I have to do is drag that baby over there. So there we go. If I had not added this on the form at all, and I just checked some of the boxes I wanted to add them to, like I wanted to add them to all of our meetup lists or something, I could set those all for always and they'd automatically go. But I want this form to actually drive what groups they get subscribed to. So what I'm doing is I'm matching up. If they check this box for Tampa, I'm going to go into here and say, if I'm only going to subscribe them to Tampa, if that field is Tampa. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
Cool. And that's what I've basically done with each one of these, is I've conditionally answered every one of those settings. And that's kind of how group management works with front-end form.
Okay. So then it goes into that group in the MailChimp that you've already created.
You got it. So if I go now and I actually go,
Can you actually select more than one?
oh yeah, watch. I'm going to go Tampa, St. Pete. That's all I'm interested in. I don't like driving that far.
Yeah.
So I'm going to submit the form.
Confirm it twice.
Okay, it's done. If I go over to MailChimp now, which is over here, and I go to my list, manage contacts, really, oh, view contacts. Oh, come on. I know you went, right, come on, you did it. It's gonna call me a liar. Let's see. I did it. Maybe it's taking its own sweet time.
Could be running around the world.
Well, it works as just a preview instead of being on page.
It should still work. Yeah, I test that kind of stuff all the time. That's one of the things I do like doing, but yep, nothing there yet.
MailChimp is like that sometimes.
MailChimp's just being slow today. I didn't know double opt-in. Well, I'm going to check my email real quick. Make sure I didn't actually get anything. I know why you guys are like, that screen is so small. Well, that's WordPress. We'll go back to MailChimp. Please don't call me a liar, Mr. MailChimp and Gravity Forms and everything else. So, that's what should happen. Make sure let me save the form and go for a friend in on it or something like that. See, just in case. I did update those settings. Notifications. I didn't send any notifications though. That was probably not a good
Can you
idea.
look in your entries up there to see if they're there?
Yep, we're there. So, you guys heading out?
Yeah, we have dinner plans at 7.
Oh, no problem.
I
Sorry.
just wanted to introduce her to a little bit of technology.
Not a problem. Well,
She's-
thanks for showing up.
She's from Pittsburgh. Women in technology, what could be better, right?
There's definitely look for women who code and girls who code up in your area and stuff like that.
Sure.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys, for showing up.
Nice meeting y'all.
So, all right. It's gonna call me a liar. This horrible thing is. So, make sure it sends a notification. I'll just be on the safe side. This pass is getting in the way. Stop that. Oh, never mind. That's good enough. I guess it wants us to have something in here. That's good enough. Okay. We're going to do it again. Come on, form. Sorry, my glasses do not work that great.
Did you have some sort of verification so that they have to respond when they get the email before you put them in the list? So they can
That's
know
if you do
that's
if you do the double opt-in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we didn't set that. We could go back and set that.
That's all right. I just wanted to.
Yeah. Check one more time in here. Oh, there we are.
There you go.
Okay, probably because I didn't save it. Notice though, it added me to the 3 groups that I just checkmarked. So we now have a communication back and forth between these 2. So, make
What
sense?
are the stars?
What are the stars? That's a contact rating. That's something you do for the contact. I think it actually changes depending on how often they open up your campaigns.
Okay.
So like it will actually start increasing a number based on how many times they open the campaigns. But you can change it. You can I think you can change it. Let me see.
It's a MailChimp thing.
It must be a MailChimp thing. Yeah. But you can see like it actually tracks what groups they were added to. So like now, if I wanted to, let me show you minus that form. So let's say we were creating that. I'm going to go back and modify the form and actually make it so that that whole option isn't visible. And that would be an option for automatically setting the form for them. Does that make sense? select, oh, I know how to do that one. We can go over here and do it we're going to create a, MailChimp. So in this case, let's say this form was only for St. Pete. And what we wanted to do was to uncheck all of those boxes. And now we're going to set St. Petersburg to always. Update the settings. And we're going to delete that little checkbox, that drop-down list. So we're going to go into the form. And we're not going to give them an option. We're just going to let them sign up. Actually, you guys have seen the little blocks where they basically, you put in your email list to sign up to a list, and that's it. This is one of those kind of situations where that may be all we're doing. So we're going to just have an email, and we're going to add a little message. In this case, you would do a double opt-in because you haven't collected all the information about them that MailChimp would require, because you want to be able them to have their name and stuff like that added. So in this case, we're going to change the MailChimp settings to do the opt-in, since we're only going to subscribe them to St. Pete. And we'll do Elaine. Actually, no, I'll do my other email address. Okay. All right, MailChimp. Be nice today. Sorry. I think I actually have to go to this. Oh, double opt-in. Duh. Gotta love it. Let's see. What's my notice there? Oh, there it is right above it. Confirm subscription. It did it? Okay. Head over to mail list. WordPress meetups. Not in there yet.
You were there. You were there.
No, that's, oh, it is. There it is. Yes. And look, it's added me as St. Petersburg, and that's a situation where you're forcing the group selection. Does that make sense? Without giving them the option on the front end of the form. Okay. So that's pretty much the end of the demo portion, but I'm here, like, any question you guys possibly have right at this point. Like, you guys want to see some other examples, some other conditions, that sort of thing. Yes?
You said that MailChimp requires more information, that's why you did the double opt-in.
Yeah.
But is it just better to have it, or do they actually require it? Like, 'cause it looks like
Yeah, it took me without my first and last name. But the email, if I'd actually looked at it, would have said, like, I think if I go back and look at it real quick, I tend to do that. I sign up a lot without actually looking at it. Yes, subscribing to this list, it'll take me over there, and it says, yeah, I'm not a robot, and subscribe to list, and then I can manage my preferences. So I can actually put in my first name, last name. And this is the automatic form that's created. Since we didn't hide that whole thing, I can now actually add Tampa, Brandon, and whatever else, update my profile. And if I go back into MailChimp over here, oops, MailChimp, refresh. Yeah.
so then they'll see all of your groups when they
Yeah, unless you hide it. So like when you're added in the form, like if I go in now to the sign up form, and I can select that. Build it, there we go. I can actually take this whole section and I can hide it. And let me show you another one that, this is probably more helpful, I think. I'm going to switch to another account that we do.
Or if when you set up your groups, you could have said no.
Yeah, I could have.
And then it's always hidden.
It's hidden until I make it visible.
Right.
I can actually make those visible. So like in here, Denise's mailing list. If I go into her sign-up form, she has a ridiculous number of groups, but we also have like custom fields. So like you can, if you want to track the region they're located in, if you want to track some specific information, like maybe how much money they've donated or the last time I saw this person, you can put all that kind of information in and then pass that over from your CRM as well. So there's a lot of power. Like by default, you're going to get email, first name, last name. But like she's also got year, quarter, year, month, event name, type of event, genre event, location, source website, internal groups, and then these other ones are the actual group configurations. So if I go to sign up forms, select, and we'll show you what her forms look like. It only takes first name, last name. We hide all of these blue ones. We do take the city, state, country, and then we basically added these particular ones. Like this is like this should actually probably be a checkbox thing, but basically this is a group category of what would you like to receive in your email, blog by mail, email newsletters, what are you interested in, and then this is a yes or no question down there for the bottom. So you've got the ability to be pretty specific. Like if you did want to say like the radio option ones or the drop down list, means that I'm only selecting one thing out of the list. Like for my, kind of give you some better examples. For our pods framework plugin, we send out in our MailChimp notices, we send out, basically anytime we do a blog post, we send it out. We send out updates, an update notice like when our plugin gets updated, like a version update, we send out that notice. We send out notices about beta announcements, and then we sometimes send out plugins that are similar to ours that people might be interested in. So that would be 4 different categories of what do you want to get from us. Does that make sense? And then they could select which of those they wanted to find out about. If someone had bought something at your website and all you really want to do is give them the ability to unsubscribe, but you still want to remind them a year later that they bought something. Maybe they bought something for a birthday present, I don't know. Or, maybe it's something that actually has like a limited time frame and they might want to buy it again. You would put them in the kind of a list that says, don't send any notices, but do track the last time they purchased something so that I could send something on the annual renewal date of when they did something. Does that make sense? And that would be a segment. Actually, do you guys want to... segments are complicated, but you can create them at any point in time when you're actually working on a list. Let's see, manage contacts, segments. Okay. We have a lot.
So the subsections that you created under each of the groups are not the segments. That's something else's segment.
No, that's a group category for a group. So those things, the group things are actually physical fields inside MailChimp.
Okay.
They actually are stored as part of that contact list. So you actually see them when you're passing across. Your segments are how you take that information and determine where your campaigns are going to. So like in this case, for hers, we created an all subscriber segment, which is every single person that signed up to the list. Mm-hmm. We also did one that was just the beta readers. So that one field that they selected.
At the bottom.
Yeah, at the very bottom. We say contact matches any, would you like to be a beta reader? One of, yes, I'd love to. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what that does. It creates that segment that's automatically populated. So like if that person ever goes in and takes themselves off the beta list, they'll automatically be removed from that segment. The idea is that segments are used to automate your mailing list. You use the forms, either your contact form on your website or the contact form on MailChimp, to manage what groups people go into. Either they select them or you select them. You manage them through your CRM. Maybe you do the leads and you flip them over to your client at some point in time. The whole concept is that you're putting people into groups so that you can properly determine who you're going to be sending campaigns to. Does that make sense? I'm saying like frozen.
Between a group and a segment.
Okay. Groups are how you define it. Groups typically are going to be something that either you manually select what they go into,
Right.
meaning like you're going into the back end and you're dropping people into groups, or you're importing them in through a spreadsheet, putting them in a specific group,
Right.
or they're going into your sign-up form and selecting a group. Does that make sense?
I went in and said, I want safety.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
When you're mailing things out, or when you're creating a campaign,
Yeah.
you create those to go to particular segments. Segments mean they can go across groups. They can be anyone who has subscribed to the mailing list since the last time I sent a campaign who happens to be in the St. Petersburg group.
Okay.
They can be
So it's kind of like an on the fly.
Yes.
yes and no. Some of them are very automated, like
Because the segment that you talked about a minute ago, you know,
the beta reader is very specific.
It's a field.
It's
And
very
I would
specific.
select that field just like I would select St. Petersburg.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why I don't understand the difference between a segment and a.
It's a created group
But if it's
that's
something that you do on the fly, you
It's-
don't necessarily keep track of on a regular basis.
it hits more when you start dealing with e-commerce. Like the e-commerce connections in the MailChimp is where the segments come in more powerful.
Anybody who's ever bought this.
Yes, because they're very. I mean, let me actually create a segment. That might actually.
Segment when you're
Yeah.
sending else, you're basically saying.
Yeah, let me create a
So you
segment.
could do something like fly, but you could say.
This'll help.
We did a live Facebook last night,
Okay.
where people could opt in.
Right.
So today, I sent an email, but I did not send to people that opted in last night, because when they opted in, they got put into another group. So I'm not going to send it twice.
Right.
Okay.
Well, and there's also a lot more options in segments. Groups are very specific. They are that field. That's it. You could send a campaign specifically to just that particular field,
Right.
but that doesn't
Segments are
get.
powerful.
Segments are much more powerful. They allow you to stretch across the entire thing about when they were added. Did this person unsubscribe?
So then why, if is there something you can do, I'm sorry, I don't want to monopolize the questions.
That's okay. That's great.
Is there something you can do in groups that you can't do in segments? Because if there isn't,
No,
why
there
would
isn't.
why would you ever use anything but segments?
You can't do groups you can't do segments to groups without, there's nothing, without groups, you have no way to classify. Does that make sense? It's like having a taxonomy in WordPress.
Yeah.
If you don't create that taxonomy with all those little categories, you can't use those to organize.
Okay, so when you're doing a segment, you have to pick and choose from the groups.
Yes,
Yes.
and additional
2 groups
information.
at a time, or 5 groups at a time, or whatever.
Yes,
So you don't
yes.
have to create a new group that's all of those 5.
Right, and you can be very specific.
But
You can go.
have the group first, or you can't do the.
Exactly. I can sit there and, I can say I want to go to Tampa, St. Pete, and Bradenton
Yeah.
in a segment. I can't do that with just a group.
Got it.
But the groups have to exist or I can't use a segment, use them in segments.
I got it.
So,
But you can also do a lot of other stuff, like you said.
yeah.
You can send an email every month and only send it to people that opted in that month.
Right.
Like if it's an intro to your group.
Right.
And apparently they've even added, I didn't realize they added automation to the basic plan.
Yeah.
I'm like shocked. I was like, I had no idea.
Yeah, these are.
Because now that means that you can actually, when someone joins through your form like that, I can actually say they've never been given a campaign, they're brand new to the thing, they're brand new to the piece. I can specifically target just those people that have joined that meetup.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you do multiple? Like, after a week, send them this message.
Oh,
after a month,
dude.
send them this other message.
Let me show you. Let me show you some of these.
Whatever you count.
Yeah, let me show you some of these.
These are all just standard features of
meetups. Yeah, MailChimp. We have basically for Denise, we created a handful of drip campaigns, and then we also created a handful of, if she does a workshop called the Unfold Your Brain workshop, it sends out a notification after we drop them into that list, and then it sends out one month after, another month after, another month. It has a very specific email, so it's like an entire list of campaigns
Right.
And you can even track, like this one sends 6 emails. But you can actually see how many people it went to, how many they opened. I mean, each one of those is a very individual email.
Yeah.
So you can create the entire process inside of it. MailChimp is ridiculously powerful. That's going to be a whole nother talk if we do that one. So, and probably is not appropriate for WordPress, but that's okay. Any other questions? Yes.
Okay, what if you have a subscriber list and you want to figure out how to just send an email to those who have expired?
You would track the date that they joined your list. Like in your case, if they purchased the subscriber, like they filled out the form and they paid for their subscription, that field would need to be created inside your MailChimp list, and that field would be passed over from
a date field?
A date field.
Okay.
Yeah, so you would pass that date field over into a date field on MailChimp, and then you would create a segment that would be anyone who is expiring, and that would be like an automatic trigger. So. Yeah.
So I have a specific situation where when I started out my lists, I was creating multiple lists because I didn't understand
Everybody does that.
this group thing.
Yeah.
Now we're being charged way more than we should because
Yeah.
we have multiple people with multiple lists.
Yeah, I've got the same issue.
So how do I merge that down into one list and create those?
Create a brand new list.
Okay.
You're going to take what your conditions are for each of those. Basically what you want to do is you want to look at each one of those lists and why they're there. Does that make sense? Like in her case for Denise, she has one list for every workshop group. So like we created 4 different lists for each workshop type, and then we have the main mailing list. And what we need to do is actually merge this list into this, but still keep the segments. So what we're going to do is create a brand new list, merge everybody from the main list into that list first, add fields for that workshop setting. And what we're going to track is, as a segment, a hidden, visible, invisible thing so that they can't see it. Track down that they went to that workshop. And that's all we really care about. Did they go to that workshop?
As a segment or as a group?
As a group. Sorry, as a group that's going to be hidden. And then you create a segment based on that particular option so that when someone goes into that particular list, what you do is you have 2 ways of doing it. You import the data in for all the fields except for that particular group or that segment, and then you import in just the email list and that segment, and that will overwrite just those 2 fields. It'll look to see does that field already exist, and it will set it for that particular group that you need. And that's how you would also do it on a Gravity form, is that on the back end you would only pass over the email list, their email, and the additional condition you want to add to their groups. Does that make sense? I know that sounded kind of technical.
So if Denise has 4 types of workshops, but she also collects email addresses every time she does one, like, so she has, I know she has a workshop every week. So,
Yeah.
So then the types of workshops would be groups, and the individual date workshops would be segments? Or
The individual dates would be the last time I attended a particular workshop. And so that would be like, we would add an additional field. That would be date of last workshop. And that's what we would throw in. So,
Or if each one had a different name and you wanted to track those?
if I wanted to track, that's more complicated. If I wanted to track their attendance at each workshop, I would actually do that on the other end of the world, and I would probably, because the whole concept is that I want to set that series of events going. So I've got 2 ways of doing that. I can either do like a custom segment where I cut and paste in a list of email addresses and just start them into that particular campaign based on that.
Yeah.
And that would be one way to do that, especially if I do one weekly. In her case, she usually only does these workshops like once every month or so, and they're very specific, and there's usually not a lot of crossover lap. So in those kind of situations, I would just cut in and paste those list of people based on the last day they attended, and start that series going. Once they got out of the initial one, it wouldn't matter because they're already in the campaign at that point. And they'll continue going down the rest of the campaign based on that segment, unless they unsubscribe. When they unsubscribe, it kind of takes them out of most segments, unless you override that, which you can. You can actually create segments for unsubscribed people and send them a specific, hey, sorry to see you go. That
That's
kind
what I'm
of thing.
saying. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm a constant contact user, but
Right.
I'm actually planning to switch to MailChimp, so this is really cool.
Yeah, MailChimp has a lot of power in
Information, but
that
in
whole
constant contact, you
range.
can't email people who unsubscribe.
Yeah, that's a real, because I know they wouldn't have the option in there otherwise. So I think you can still send an email even if someone is unsubscribed, as long as there's some kind of a way to unsubscribe. Because like ours, what we typically do is we would, they would not opt into regular mailings, but I still have the right to contact you, after the fact. Like maybe I would just pull those little guys off and drop them into a special email and make it like text only and say, hey, Daniela, I saw that you unsubscribed, sorry to see you go. Was there any reason or something like that? And if you make it more looking like an email, they're more likely to reply to it. And she does a lot of that, of those kind of things. Did that answer your question too?
Yeah, so you would export those lists, right? And then you would import them into one list.
Into one list, a brand new list.
So,
And then you would get rid of the old list once you knew that you had everybody in where they needed to be.
is there any, I guess,
I mean, you could take an
that's
existing,
already there?
you could take an existing list that already exists. Like you could take whichever list you have that has the most entries in it,
Yeah.
make that be your new master, start adding in the groups that will help you define why you created the other lists, and then import those people into your main list and then delete those.
Is there any concern with like data integrity on like the campaigns I've already sent those lists? Or
You're gonna lose any history on campaign. You'll still have the history for the campaign itself, but you won't be able to drill into it to see who did what. So you would lose all of that. And I mean, it would be nice if MailChimp had told you in the beginning that that's why you only do one list, but they really only started pushing that probably in the last year.
that's how they make their money.
Yeah, and I didn't even realize it either. There was Caldera put out a really good thing about why to use segments, and because their MailChimp interface actually can reach all the way into the segments. So you can actually drop people automatically into specific segments, which I was like, oh, how does that happen? But anyway, that's something they do that nobody else does right now.
So, for Gravity Farms, they can only drop you into a group.
Yes. Yeah. But they can't access every single custom field you create. They can also access those. Like our WordCamp attendees, like if I go in, go back to MailChimp, and I'm going to take that form, and I'm going to modify which, If I go back in here, in the MailChimp settings, and select a different form, or mailing list, or I'll just add a new one, that'll work. A new feed. Because that's the other thing, you can actually have one form that feeds multiple mailing lists as well. Based on conditions, if you wanted to. So like in this case, I'm going to go the 2016 attendees. And you will see every single field that we passed over as soon as it catches up. There we go. So we've got email address, first name, last name, website, sponsor, speaker, organizer. Those are, I think, were like yes, no fields. Our sponsor, speaker, organizer. Yeah, these were all four of those were like yes, no fields. And I use those to organize our labels and our badges and stuff. That was the attend the event. It was a yes, no that we tracked after they actually attended the event. We checked everybody off. All of these capital ones are all the things that went on their badges. So these particular things all went on the badge. So like meal was like vegan. The t-shirt was like we had a sort name, which was like the first 4 digits of their name, so that we could easily take the badges and like reorganize them based on alphabetically. It showed their ticket type, all of that. So their Twitter handle, all of those fields were specifically inside our MailChimp list. And that's the nice thing about MailChimp is that you can create as many of those as you need. You have like a couple of options like date, website, email. Most of them are just text. There's some number fields. Like for our Friends of Pods or our Pods mailing list, we also have a donation form. and we pass over our donation amount. And that's one of the things I've been wanting to really do, is actually like make sure that we're constantly pushing over to that thing what their current donation amount is, so that and I definitely want to track the last time they donated if they only did a one-time donation, so that I can send them a notice a year later that says, hey, last year you gave us $100, would you like to do it again? Would you like to make this regular? Maybe you want to make it monthly, that kind of thing. The upsell. So, does that make sense? Any other questions?
I got a question about the automation of when someone fills out the form and going directly to your MailChimp as opposed to you having to manually input it in there.
Yeah.
Is that through the is that with Gravity Forms? Because you pay for Gravity Forms, and those Gravity Forms that actually
Gravity Forms handled the push over to the MailChimp mailing list, yes. So it basically.
So you can still use that with the free. You can have that automated even with the free version of MailChimp.
Yeah, with the free version of MailChimp, you don't even have to use the Gravity form if I didn't want to. I could have done a sign-up form and just put it on my website embedded from MailChimp.
How do you do that? I mean, well, because like I use Statistic, the pop-up plugin
Yeah.
for stuff like that, and right now I'm having to manually input stuff.
Yeah, if they don't have the ability to handle hidden fields or allow you to modify the form, you're screwed. You kind of have no choice but to use you either have to like modify the form and add some hidden fields that automatically pass those values in based on the field name from MailChimp, and that'll there's a whole documentation on MailChimp for that one. That's the complicated way. Or you use a plugin like Caldera Forms with the MailChimp add-in, or Gravity Forms with
Recommend
MailChimp.
like a free plugin for that? Or they pretty much
Off the top of my head,
that automation you got.
MailChimp, WordPress plugin handles free handling
ELO and
custom
definitely
fields.
things. And it'll link it, it's pretty good.
Well, there's MailChimp for WordPress, but I don't think that's going to do it. I'm almost positive that's not going to do it. Yeah, that's just going to be sign-up methods. I don't think it handles.
One BLO
Bloom?
elegant things.
Oh, the Elegant Themes. Isn't
They
that?
just put that out.
That's a paid one though. If it's Elegant
Not
Themes. Oh, they made it free.
I think so.
Okay.
When did MailChimp make the automation free? Because I use Benchmark because their automation.
That just happened like a couple months ago.
Yeah.
I was wondering because like I went in there today and I was like going, what? Automation free? I said, let me get on that.
It was free with Benchmark.
No, it was not free for. No, that's never been free until. Yes, it must have just been a couple months ago.
It was just a couple months ago.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that one's going to take research on that one if you want to find one that actually does it automatically. Yeah, I know Gravity Forms has that. You saw how it worked. Caldera Forms has a MailChimp feed as well.
Coffee cup?
Coffee Cup? I don't know that one. Yeah. Let me wrap up our meeting before we do some questions, and I'll take something off the recording and I'll give you some information in a minute. So let's get out of this mode. I think we've kind of like done questions. So I'm still recording. I don't have my word my hard drive is going to fill up in a minute here. So I am Jim True. I'm the support lead and community manager at the Pods Framework. It is a custom content development framework for WordPress. It allows you to manage your custom post types, custom taxonomies, and your custom fields within a really nice interface all in one place. I'm doing a talk on it next month. The first Thursday. It's going to be called Grow Beyond Posts and Pages, Introduction to the Pods Framework. I highly recommend you guys come to that one. It'll take you light years beyond where you may be right now. If you haven't been doing data-driven websites and you'd like to be doing data-driven websites, our plugin will help you do that. It's an onboard. It's a good little next step for people that want to get past where they are now. So I highly recommend it. It's a great talk. It's fun. You'll get to see pretty much how to do everything without code. And that's what a lot of people are looking for. We are WordPress St. Petersburg. Our meetups here are monthly in St. Pete at the Iron Yard here on the first and second Thursdays of every month. We are actually part of the Tampa Bay WordPress network. which is 6 different meetups across the entire Tampa Bay region. That is our website, tampabaywp.org. That is the best place to contact us. We have a Slack chat, which is kind of like a online chat system. We do a happiness bar on that Slack chat every Tuesday from 5 to 6 p.m. if people remember to do it. We have a Facebook group that you can join. It's fairly active. We also announce all of our meetups on there and when videos are posted and when slides are posted. That's interesting. My camera just changed. Anyway. My light's no longer there, it's over here now, so that's going to be fun. And of course we have our meetups. WordPress St. Petersburg is this meetup. We have one for Newport Richie now. We are slowly in the process of breaking each of our city meetups into their separate little meetup groups so that you can see them on your WordPress dashboard when there's a meetup nearby you. This wonderful place is the Iron Yard St. Pete. It's a technical school. They do a really in-depth front-end, back-end type of teaching in Java, JavaScript, Ruby, Python, and it's like a 12-week course, and then you have another 4 weeks for like, I think, career testing or something of that nature. But all of their information is on the ironyard.com, and they also have their own meetup here, or their own meetup group on Meetups, which is worth joining because every month, I think 3 nights a month, they do free classes. They vary, but I know one of the ones they do is a crash course on JavaScript, but they do crash courses on other coding things, and those are free to attend to anyone that wants to come. So it's worth joining their meetup group as well. Okay.